What up? What it is? What's poppin'? It's the neighborhood nice guy K Dot, aka Professor Dot, and welcome to a special episode of Jump Ball and Study Hall, where we're analyzing the WNBA Collective Bargaining Agreement, better known as famously the CBA. I have a panel of illustrious guests with me tonight. The first one that I am going to introduce is none other than Lauren Sanders, partner of the 9450 Basketball Network and co-host of Keeping It 9450, codenamed WBB, who also has her own show on the network, Courtside Access with Lauren. We also have 21 Titles in the building, Brittany Wallace, co-founder of 21 Titles and the co-host of Beyond the 9450, and Shantae Hallett, Esquire, co-founder of 21 Titles and co-host of Beyond the 9450. And again, we are here to talk CBA. So let me introduce you guys to what's going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the backbone of the WNBA, its players. In 2020, they made a historic revenue agreement with the new collective bargaining agreement, setting a new standard for women's professional sports. But let's dive deeper into what the CBA entails and what the Players Association must continue to do to fight to ensure fair compensation for their remarkable efforts is known. First off, the 2020 CBA brought about monumental changes, including salary increases, improved travel conditions, and an enhanced maternity and family planning benefits. It was a step in the right direction, acknowledging the immense talent and the dedication of these athletes. However, there's still lots of ground to cover. Despite the progress, the average WNBA player salary remains a fraction of its NBA counterparts, reflecting an ongoing disparity that demands rectification. So, what's next? The Players Association must relentlessly advocate for equitable compensation. This means challenging existing norms and pushing for greater revenue sharing models, sponsorships, and media coverage. It's about securing the endorsements that reflect their value and expanding their global presence. The fight doesn't end at the bargaining table. It extends to the court where the players continue to defy expectations and showcase their extraordinary skills day in and day out. Moreover, the Players Association must prioritize the long term sustainability, investing in retirement plans, healthcare, and post career opportunities that ensure players' well being beyond their playing days. It's about recognizing their contributions, not just as athletes, but as ambassadors for the sport, role models for the future generations, and pillars of their communities. In essence, the 2020 CBA was a watershed moment, but this is just the beginning. The Players Association must persist in championing their worth, demanding nothing less than recognition and compensation they are rightfully deserving of. So, let's stand with these remarkable athletes as they continue to redefine the game and rewrite history, not just for themselves, but for the future of women's sports. So, ladies, how are you all doing this evening, starting with Lo?
Yes, monologue. I'm doing well. Can't complain. We've been, trying to put this together for a while, so I'm glad that we're all on the same accord and able to get the information out to the people. Over 350 pages of literature, so it was like going back to school. So we're gonna try to make it as simplistic as possible and as comprehensive as possible.
Absolutely. And two, my favorites, 21 titles. Britt, Shantae, how are you guys doing? Starting with Brittany.
I'm happy to be here. Uh, just happy to kind of dive into the CBA. Like Lauren said, this conversation has been a long time coming. So very happy to, you know, have this talk and kind of provide the information. So ready for the ready for the CBA god to get it popping.
Absolutely. How about Shantae? What's going on with you?
Yo, listen, K Dot really is the CBA guy, but I'm super happy and excited to be here. I think that this is really important and timely with um, what's been going on in the news that happened today. So yeah, I just think the education portion is important, and like Lauren said, we've been trying to do this for some time, but this obviously is the right time. So just happy to be here.
Absolutely. And I am very, very ecstatic to have my esteemed panelists with me tonight. So let's jump right into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about is, of course, the news that broke today in regards to travel. It has been understood. And don't forget to be a part of the conversation in the comments. We will be bringing out a lot of questions, a lot of things that we could possibly answer for you guys. So if you all are joining, please don't forget to engage. We are here to give you guys as much information as possible. And even though we do know that the Liberty and Chicago Sky are playing right now, please make sure that you still catch that. This will be a recorded session, so you can always catch it after the fact on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. But we still would like for you to be engaged and live with us today. So again, let's get right into it with the travel. It has been brought to our attentions in breaking news that Kathy Engelbert has had conversations and have announced that this year in 2024, the ladies of the WNBA will be chartering flights. And needless to say, it's about damn time. So, with the CBA, the original agreement was certain flights would be chartered if teams were playing back-to-back games, and it will enhance during the playoffs and finals. Now, that agreement sounds as if it's no more. We're going to get chartered flights for the players. So, starting with Low again, what were the initial thoughts that you had coming into this breaking news, and in conjunction with what the CBA explained when they signed off in 2020? How does this change the dynamic of travel for the women of the WNBA going forward?
I think it changes everything. And like you said, I think it's about damn time. Like these women deserve to be treated as such, what they are, professional athletes. And I saw a video last week of Caitlin Clark going to the preseason game, and not much security, just people able to walk up to her. And then you hear earlier this week, Angel Reese said that some girl was outside her car banging on the window. So I think you really see how big these brands are, these personalities are, these people are, and they need to be protected as such. So I think the first order of business is to, have charter flights. I think we should have had charter flights ages ago. It's sad it took 27 years, but we're here now. And I think we truly know why the flights are chartered now. But I'm not going to complain. We're just going to go with what she says. I am still skeptical, though. I want to actually see it. Kathy has been dishonest multiple times in the past. So I just want to know exactly when, these fights are going to take place. But I think it helps with, traveling. These women were saying that they were spending 14, 16 hours just to get if especially if you're going across country. So like the Mystics playing Vegas or LA. Like it was taking them 14, 16 hours because they had to take buses and plane, like multiple planes because they didn't have direct flights and stuff like that. It's just a mess for professional athletes. Like it's just a mess. So I think that this was needed. It's sad that we have to celebrate something that should be a given. But moving forward, I think this is great for women's basketball. And I think that it'll just continue to push the sport forward.
Absolutely. And Shantae, just getting a little bit deeper into how these chartered flights would work. Obviously, we've seen them in other sports, and it came to our attention. And shout out to Rex Chapman today. It wasn't until around 1987, where the Detroit Pistons and its owner decided to create a chartered flight system for its players and chartered flights in the NBA didn't come into account for all teams until about the early 90s. So with this, again, with this monumental change that we've seen coming in 2024 for the WNBA, what are your initial thoughts on how moving forward when this CBA is set to expire in 2025? Because obviously we know that the Players Association is going to opt out after this year. How does this look going forward for the players and its association to ensure that they have concrete agreements going forward for these chartered flights?
Simple, getting it in writing. So if they're opting out at the end of October, very beginning of November, it's really important that the WNPA has language in the CBA that makes it clear that these these players are going to be traveling via chartered flights. Just piggybacking off what Lauren said, this has been a long time coming. This should have been happened. I do agree. We all know why this happened, but we're here now. But yeah, it's going to be super important to get that language in writing, and hopefully Kathy sticks to what she said, and this really happens. But getting things in writing is super important. So I'm interested to see what the CBA looks like after they opt out.
Indeed. And Brittany, as a former player yourself, from a professional standpoint, we also had a lot of conversation today in regards to non-communication. So it came to our attention as well that some of the GMs and some of the players had found out the moment everybody else found out. So if you, as a, of course, former player and a former professional within professional basketball, what would have been your initial thoughts if you were to find out just like everybody else, like, and not have like special decorum to let everybody know, say, hey, yeah, this is coming out. Let's make sure at least our players and everybody within the league is in the know before we announce it to the world?
I'm gonna be honest. I would be a little pissed. You know, it just seems like the WNBA just be dropping the ball all the time with a lot of stuff. Lauren mentioned it, how a lot of these teams would have to travel. You know, we don't have direct flights, so we got to get off a plane and get onto a bus. I don't really think people understand how taxing that is on your body when you're a professional athlete and you're expected to perform. You know, um, and I can say this from experience. One of my worst games professionally came from a day of travel. I traveled 14 hours from Belgium to Belarus, and I was still expected to compete at a high level the same day, the same night. Granted, I had the worst game I ever had in my life. Okay, fouled out, didn't do what I needed to do, but that's because that day of travel took so much energy out of me, right? And you still have to be mentally prepared to, I'm still an American and I still have to compete. Everybody's gunning against me. So, as a former player, I definitely would have been irate that I didn't get the inside information. But as a person who's been fighting and talking and voicing their opinion about them being able to get charter flights, I'm happy that it's finally on time.
And I just wanted to chime in really quickly, K. Dot. We always talk about the safety aspect, but I think Brittany hit it on the head with just the preparation preparing the athletes to travel these long distances. Like, you're trying to squeeze a 6'4", 6'5" body, in the middle seat of a Delta flight, and then expect them to play a 40-minute game the next day. Like, it just doesn't, it just doesn't make sense. And these players have already had, issues from before, maybe prior knee surgery or, back discomfort, whatever the case may be. So they already have prior comorbidities and other issues. And then you kind of put that with, long flights and taking buses and squeezing them in the middle seat with babies in the back crying. Like, it's just, it's necessary for them to. It's almost yeah, I mean, I guess that's the best way to put it. It's a necessity for them to have charter flights. It's not a luxury. Like, it should be a necessity for these women.
Absolutely. And just one last thing before we move on to the next section and pivot. We have to address the elephant in the room, if there even is an elephant in the room. Shout out to Ellie. I think that it's very ironic that this comes in height of the most anticipated draft we have seen in years regarding Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso, Cameron Brink, and a number of other draftees, but most importantly, Caitlin Clark again. And someone in the comments, Ghost, talking about, can I get a thank you for the Caitlin banner? We'll hold off on that. However, we can't ignore the how ironic it is. We just can't ignore that. And it goes to show how we already know that sometimes the powers that be, whether it be the league themselves or the owners themselves, they know they already have funds allocated to take care of things like this, but decide not to for some reason, some shape or form. So when we're looking at this in particular, the optics of it, in my opinion, yes, it's good for the players. Yes, it's good for the league. It's good for the Players Association. But optically, does this really look good, knowing that you already knew that this could have already happened? Listen, back in 2021, 2022, even 2022 season, the New York Liberty and the owner Joe Tsai had a particular solution to charter flights, and did this solution in essence to keep away from spending money the league needed that the league had to go by. And they were on the verge of being banned from the league. They were literally on the verge of being banned from the league. Now, suddenly it's 2024, and we're looking at the new dynamics of fans, looking at the new dynamics of sponsorships. A lot of media entities are now suddenly coming into play. Now, charter flights are important, and they've come up with a solution. So, what do we think about that? And again, we will move right into the next subject. And I just opened this up to you guys on, again, how ironic this is suddenly.
Can I get my shit off first?
Yes,
Because I
please.
want to say this is not ironic. Let's just cut to the chase. It is what it is. And I feel like it's not even I know that it's a slap in the face. For a league to constantly talk about, we care about the security and X, Y, and Z of the players. No, y'all don't. It's about numbers. And that's just the fact of the matter. That's business. This is a business. Ticket sales are up. We're seeing unprecedented numbers all across the board. And yeah, to add more to it, we had a great 2024 draft class. So long story less long, I think it's a slap in the face. You mentioned, with the New York Liberty back in 2021. I mean, the Las Vegas Aces forfeited back in 2018 because of back-to-back games. This has been an ongoing issue. And it's very similar to how the NCAA kind of turns its eye, like has a blind eye. Let's not do that. Right. So yeah, I say all that to say this is not a coincidence. This is not any of that. It is what it is. This is a slap in the face. The numbers are up, so now they're moving.
I agree. I agree 100%. I think that just 3 weeks ago, Kathy said that we don't have enough money. Pretty much, we don't have enough money for the chartered flights to happen. So it's just ironic. She just woke up today and found $25 million just sitting in her office. That now that they can charter flights, like the math isn't mathing. It doesn't make sense. And so when people say that it's external factors that affect basketball, this is one of the things that we're talking about. Now, in this situation, it's beneficial to all the women, but it shouldn't take a certain person to come into the league for this to happen. Brittany Griner was detained for, 200 plus days and came back and was supposed to be protected. And we saw the video of the guy heckling her. Like, I don't know if everybody watched the 2020 special, but that happened the other day. But, we heard of the horrific things that she had gone through. And just thinking about her mental state at that time, why weren't they protecting her? You know what I'm saying? Like, and so when we say external factors or race and other things playing a part, this is what we mean.
Absolutely. So as we pivot, and go ahead, Brittany. I know that your mic was off. So
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like Shantae and Lauren just said, they know what they're doing.
absolutely.
It's a slap in the face because what did we just see the other day? They didn't stream a game, and we had a fan stream the game from their phone. Over 200,000 people were watching this game from the phone. We have demand now. The WNBA, y'all gotta pick it up, right? Like, it's time. It's time.
So as we pivot, this is exactly what I wanted to get into in the next subject. So when we're talking about the CBA, we're also talking about how a lot of things can factor in from a league owner and player standpoint. And the most important thing of that is visibility. With visibility comes the TV deals. So this year, this TV deal expires in 2014. If I'm not mistaken, there was a TV deal negotiated through ESPN where it was a 10-year, $125 million deal. First off, timeout. 10-year, 125 million. That's only 12.5 million a year from a TV deal standpoint. And yes, I know it's 2014, but could we not have negotiated something much better then? With the TV deals, actually is a domino effect when it comes to the TV deal. When you have a big TV deal, sometimes your collective bargaining agreement can go into a better effect from a salary cap standpoint. That's one of the most perfect examples I can give you for the CBA based off of deals outside of the collective bargaining agreement itself. So now with the visibility and what we've seen in the college basketball game, in the women's college basketball game, we've seen record after record after record be shattered in 2024, in 2023, 2024. So, with this new TV deal pending, what do you all think this new TV deal should entail, and how much of an impact could this TV deal be to the new collective bargaining agreement when they start negotiations in 2025 going into the 2026 WNBA season? And we'll start off with Shantae.
I'll say that piggybacking off what you just said, this is really important, right? The negotiation piece is going to be super important. And I hope Kathy stands 10 toes down and negotiates a number that's equivalent to the value that these players are bringing, right? And so if it actually does that, that's going to potentially trigger revenue sharing, right? Which we're going to get into later, but that's part of why this number is so important. So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, I hope that, long story less long, I hope that Kathy and her team negotiate and look at the numbers and really keep in mind, long term how this can affect. Keep in mind how this could affect revenue sharing.
Absolutely. And Lauren, I want to also expound on this particular topic because we also saw record numbers again in the women's college basketball realm. We saw over 18 million viewers, if I'm not mistaken, between the Final Four national championship games, between Iowa, between South Carolina, also the Iowa UConn game. Obviously, we're still looking at the common denominator here, which is Iowa. Which is again something that's going to be I mean, it is what it is in that point. But if you were the league office, head of the league office, commissioner, if you will, and you're looking at these TV deals and you're seeing a lot of these networks now suddenly are at the negotiating table waiting to bid, what would be the first thing that you would say to these networks in regards to making sure that this TV deal is monumental for the WNBA?
I mean, I think you have to show them the numbers. The numbers don't lie. As Brittany said, like the league and the players are in demand right now. Just last year, it was the most watched season in 21 years, averaging 462,000 viewers per game. And the finals was the most watched finals in the last 20 years, averaging 728,000 viewers per game. So that's a 36% year over year increase. And I think if you come in with the numbers, like they can't refute that. You know, what did they say? Women lie, numbers don't. Like you can't refute that. And I think she honestly has to whatever number that she's trying to negotiate, you have to just throw a wild number out there first. Like I'm asking for 2 billion, just like the NBA is asking for 2 billion. And come down from that. And I think, and I hate to say this, but it's true. Most women, or some women, I should say, are not as great as negotiating as men. And so even as a college kid, I'll never forget my stepmom sat me down one day and she was just like, some women make $1 million less in their lifetime than a man simply because we don't negotiate. And so when she said that, like that changed my entire, because I didn't even know about negotiations at that age, right? And so when she said that, it changed my entire perspective on negotiations. And like for me, I can only speak for myself. Like I literally negotiate everything. If somebody's building my deck, if they're coming to the window, so I think all that to say is I think she has a team around her that will actually fight to negotiate and not just take whatever the first number they give them. Because I think that when this CBA was negotiated, I think it was almost like, all right, we'll just take the scraps. Like it's better than the last CBA deal.
Exactly.
We're winning from that front, but it's not, they could have gotten more. Like it's just a fact. They could have gotten more. And I think that maybe they didn't look forward to what the league was going to become, or the players that are coming in, the impact that they may have on the league in regards to growth. Maybe they didn't look into that. I don't know how they wouldn't, because that's a 10-year plan. That's a simple 10-year plan, but they didn't bet on themselves. I think that's the best way to say it. They didn't bet on themselves, but now it's time. The numbers are there. The people want to watch. Anytime people are watching an hour and a half preseason game on a phone, on a pixelated phone, the demand is there. So Kathy and her team, or whoever negotiates these dealings, they have to really truly reach for the stars. Like I'm saying, 2 billion, and then see what they see their counter offer, and kind of go from there.
Yes, and I want to kind of for Brittany, I want to go back and be a little nostalgic a little bit. And you guys know me as a nostalgia guy. Everything 90s, early 2000s, Big T, Jabot jeans, jerseys, and inside stuff. So if me as a fan, more importantly as a fan of the WNBA, I've always loved NBC's coverage, and I've always loved Round Ball Rock. For some reason, Round Ball Rock, that when that song came on, and when that Peacock when it showed on TV, and that like when that came on, like basketball was getting ready to come on. And part of me, Brittany, I want that back. I don't know if it'll happen, because right now, if a lot of people don't know, jumping over on the NBA side, the NBC has put a lucrative offer on the table, and TNT, they had X amount of time to match. So we don't know what's going to happen going forward with the NBA and the way that their coverage is going to go. Maybe they come back to NBC. We don't know yet. But if the WNBA had some type of negotiation with NBC and Peacock. And Peacock, if people don't know, Peacock is NBC Universal's streaming platform, has amazing shows on there. Make sure y'all go check that out. But if they were to come back to the nostalgia of NBC as a 80s 90s baby, what would that do for you as a fan first, but also what would that look like, from a business standpoint, if NBC and that network and Universal can make that happen for the fans?
Um, I would be geeked out. Like that's nostalgic for me too. Hearing that music is like you hearing a lullaby, like a baby hearing a lullaby when they sleep. It just automatically complements the game. And I think this would just be a way for these networks to garner in new fans. Like we already see a surge of casuals coming in. Like we see it on Twitter with just the rhetoric. Like they don't know half the stuff that we know as, long-term fans, essentially. One of the things I really want Kathy to really kind of negotiate is because the WNBA is very different from like other professional leagues, right? Like their salary cap is a hard cap with very little wiggle room. I need that to change personally for me. That has to change because like you said, with these new TV deals, there's more money coming in. So we can definitely raise that salary cap a little bit more, right? Like the NBA, they have a luxury tax if they go over the salary cap. Y'all could do the same thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, definitely. And let's kind of talk about that a little bit. So, as we pivot into what the salary cap looks like and how the salary cap works, it's very, very complicated yet simple and at the same time. So, when we're talking about the salary cap, the teams from a allocation standpoint has a certain amount of dollars that they can spend on their roster. Some teams can get up to 12 players. Some teams, because of how their salaries work, can only get up to 11. You also have clauses within the salary cap where teams can potentially go over the cap without penalty if there are medical hardships. What are medical hardships? They're in cases where if one of your players, let's say a player who is making 125,000 gets injured and they're going to be out for the season, there is a medical hardship where teams can sign a player, and if that player's salary goes over the cap, they will not be penalized. That's how the salary cap work. And just like Brittany explained, there is a hard cap. That hard cap means you cannot go over that salary cap without cutting someone first. You can't do it. There is no luxury tax. In other sports and in other leagues, they're what you call a luxury tax. What is a luxury tax? You say a luxury tax is a tax based off of the certain amount of dollars that you go over your cap. So, for example, if we owned a team and we only had a $1 million salary cap, if we go over that cap, we would have to pay a penalty tax. That penalty tax can go from 10% to 25%. It depends on what the collective bargaining agreement is. But us as owners and as a franchise would have to pay that percentage over the tax based off of how many dollars we go over. So, with that being said, what do we think about this salary cap and how the current salary cap in 2020 increased. And mind you, this salary cap, if I'm not mistaken, the salary cap increased about $250,000 because I think the average team can go up to about 1.3 million now. I think the previous collective bargaining agreement, I don't even think it was $1 million. I think it was probably like 875 to $900,000 in the salary cap. That's why the star players were only making 100 up to 150,000 from that standpoint. But this new collective bargaining agreement that was signed in 2020, the players themselves plus incentives from a marketing and revenue share standpoint could have made, if I'm not mistaken, up to $700,000, but that did not include team cap. That just that up to $700,000 included WNBA marketing, based off of different agreements. So again, the question being, what do you guys think of this current salary cap and what needs to change going into the new collective bargaining agreement, going forward, starting with Low, in regards to how we look at the salary cap now and what it needs to be in the future?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple. It just needs to continue to increase. Like the hard cap, they need to just continue to increase whatever the scale is. Um, this is the most money that they've ever made, and I think once we talk about revenue sharing a little bit more, I think we can go into how these women can make more money. But I think the salary cap in general just needs to be increased because things such as I was reading, things such as time off bonuses goes against the salary cap and stuff like that. So I think overall the structure of it needs to change, but more importantly, like I think the number needs to be higher. Like I know it's $1 billion now, but why can't we push that number up a little bit more?
What about you, Shantae? I think that also, just to elaborate a little bit more on this salary cap. I think we had a situation. If I'm not mistaken, we had a situation last year with the Connecticut Sun. They had a case where they had to they had to cut more players than they wanted to because there was a situation with Brianna Jones and her new deal. And I believe Connecticut only ran with between 10 and 11 players the entire season, and including Breezy, if I'm not mistaken. Breezy herself got injured with the Achilles, and her season was over in like the first 3 or 4 games, and they ended up having to put her on put her on the medical exception, and they were able to then start signing other players. So in detail, all teams aren't created equal. So why is that? And what do you think, from a strategy standpoint for all of these franchises? What do you think from a strategy standpoint from all of these franchises? How are these franchises are able to stay within their cap? But then how are some of these other franchises are unwilling to stay within their cap?
It's tricky, right? It's like a game of Tetris, seriously. When it comes to trying to have enough healthy bodies on the team. And I think just piggybacking off what Lauren said, the salary cap definitely needs to increase because what's happening is you're sacrificing a bulk of your roster. That's what we're essentially saying. Um, so to answer your question, I don't even know if I can answer that because it can't be answered in a vacuum. And I think that the bottom line is the language needs to change and the salary cap needs to increase, right? The salary
Yeah.
cap needs to increase so that all teams and all franchises can have at least 12 players on their team, right?
Yeah.
Instead of having to play mental games and determine like who needs to be removed and who can stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to because they're sacrificing their rosters trying to figure it out.
Absolutely. And also to the listeners out there, don't forget to make sure you be engaged, stay with the comments. We're loving what you guys are saying. We're definitely going to shout you guys out. Shout out to Deshell, Ghost, obviously, Relly Rel, Wayne. Oh, my man Wayne is in the building. Shout out to you. But just getting back to the conversation, I think so. Brittany, I want to go into the actual marketing agreements and the revenue sharing, right? There has been a lot of conversation in regards to market share, revenue share, and all of that nature. And from what we understand from the CBA, based off of the language, the WNBA players are allowed up to 50% in principle if the WNBA makes a generous profit at the end of each season. They would be able to see up to 50%. If that doesn't happen, the WNBA players are only obligated to, I believe, up to just 25% of that. Also, that doesn't include the sharing of jersey sales. What the hell? Kelsey Plum a year ago was on a podcast and actually said that and was like, listen, we don't even get a share of our jersey. So if someone buy our jersey, we don't even see a share of that. So again, I say, what the hell? Why aren't we seeing these incredible athletes get a share of their own jersey? I own at least 5 jerseys in my closet right now. And you mean to tell me that Asia Wilson, Kalia Copper, Benijah Laney, who else do I have? Cheryl Swoops, Shannon Bobbitt. Like they don't see a lick of that. They don't even see 1% of that. Why is that, Brittany? Why is that?
We still operating in the dark ages, man. Like, because there's no excuse for that at this point. And Kathy better be negotiating this in the next CBA. Like, they have to get, like, the way that the revenue sharing is set up just blows my mind. Like, it's incremental revenue sharing. So you have to the league must surpass the cumulative and annual revenue targets in a given year for revenue sharing to occur. So it's like so many things have to happen for this to be put into place.
I'm laughing to keep from crying, by the way, listeners and viewers. I'm just flabbergasted. I'm sorry.
I'm
Go,
just
proceed, Brittany. I'm sorry.
It's just really incredible how they crafted this. Like, it's kind of like how Lauren said, like, we'll just sign it because y'all giving us more stuff than we had before. So this is a win for us, right? Nah, we can't. We got to stop settling for crumbs at this point. Like, not having an opportunity to make any money from your own jersey sales is is pretty crazy as a professional athlete.
I just want to
Period.
piggyback on Brittany. It's like, now the college kids are getting paid for name, image, and likeness, and professional athletes can't. Like that literally does not make sense to me. And like I said earlier, I think that the whole revenue sharing, like basically the WNBA was like, hey, we're gonna get ours regardless. And then if we have a little bit extra, if we hit above what our target goal was, then y'all can get 50% of it. And it's like the WNBA doesn't run without the players. Let's be very clear. We can get new management in there. We can get a new owner. We can get new higher ups. But without these players, this league does not run. So they should be at the forefront. Like, I understand it's a business. I get that. But the fact that, like, these players are not seeing a penny from their jersey sales, like, that's disgusting. Like, it's highway robbery. Like, who the hell signed this? Like, again, scraps. But now things are going to change because they got to respect it. Like, the numbers are there. You see the demand. You see people standing outside with Caitlin Clark jerseys, or you see people standing outside for hours to get a glimpse of Angel Reese. Like the times are here. Times are changing.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. So I want to shift to responsibility. Um, and this is going to be very important before we get into a little bit of the medical part of it. Because first off, y'all bugging. And when I say y'all, I mean anybody who negotiated this 2020 deal. But going back to responsibility and accountability. Now, first, we have the Players Association. Now, obviously, Nneka Abumake is the president of the WNBA Players Association, the WNBA Players Association, obviously, or the WNBPA, right? And again, we circle back and talk about what the common denominator is when it comes to why, right? Just getting what we can get. I know that we're in 2024 and now we're all in agreement to say it is time out for all of that. We're not just going to get what we can get. But a lot of this responsibility does fall on not only the owners, and mind you, a lot of the ownership has changed since 2020. And I do want to give credit to the new owners that are taking more of a progressive reach and saying that, listen, I will invest and I will spend the money because I know my return on investment is going to be 100 times over that I can get when I first started. So salute to the new progressive owners there. But again, it's not just the owners, it is the league and it's also the Players Association. Now, from a responsibility and an accountability standpoint, we know that in 2020 that there were some players that was still upset that the collective bargaining agreement was signed the way that it was. And they were willing, some players were willing to hold out and strike in order for a better deal to be signed. And it didn't happen. So, where do we draw the line in where we need to express accountability to the Players Association in getting this signed? And how much can we say their hands were tied behind their back in signing this deal? And even if we should put partial blame on them.
But first, since mine is off mute, I think that they definitely get some of the blame. But when we look at the context of the time, 2020, we were entering COVID, so people didn't know, when when the next meal was coming. People didn't know where the business was coming from. Everything was shut down, but my job. I worked the entire time. But yeah, so I think that some of the players might have been frightened in regards to like we can't sit the season out because we don't know where our next check is coming from. We might not even have a full season because of COVID, etc. Can I go across the water and play over there? Because a lot of different countries had, restrictions and stuff like that from Americans coming over once COVID got really bad. But I think times are different now. I think people can see the tide turning. And I think that they'll be bold enough and ballsy enough that if it comes to them sitting out, when they have to opt out, then I think they will. Like, I think this time they come in there with a better game plan. I think that they see all the hype around the game right now. And it's like, they're sitting in a good seat right now. They're in a way better spot than they were in 2020. Just because of the visibility and viewership numbers being up, like they have data to show for it now. So I think if they don't get what they want or think they deserve, I think we see enough. I think we see them sit out.
I definitely agree. And Shantae, just to kind of expound on the way that 2020 worked. You're absolutely right because there was a documentary in the name of 144. Shout out to Chineo Bumike, who was the executive producer of that. We saw a lot of the behind the scenes of what happened in the Wubble, and from that standpoint, yes, you understand that sometimes when your hands are tied behind your back and you want to make sure that you put something in writing, you want to make sure that you're protected. But at what cost? is what I'm kind of, and mind you, I have to be very, very cautious on how I opinionate a lot of things, because first off, I'm a man, and what man in my I would say in my stature should have any type of opinion to be in women's business. Let's start that off. So, Shantae, your thoughts on what happened in 2020 and what you would like to see going forward, and looking at what the Players Association need to do in order to keep their foot to first off put their foot down and hold their foot down to make sure that they get what they deserve.
Well, naturally, as an attorney, when I'm speaking to clients, I give them pros and cons, right? I give them a broad picture so that they can make informed decisions and things of that nature. What I will say is that I hope that these players, piggybacking off what Lauren said earlier, feel the support that they're garnering from viewers, from new watchers, from everybody. And shouts to social media. I think that because of social media, the support, the complaints, all of that has become more visible, and I think that that's going to ignite more of a fire under their behinds to push for the things in which they should have probably pushed for in 2020. Um, do I think that they should take some accountability for how things panned out? Of course. Um, but we're here now. So I'm trying, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to keep it positive, but um I wish that they would have negotiated a little harder. I wish they would have stood firm in some things a little harder, without necessarily knowing what the future looked like. Sometimes it's going to be like that. Um, and sometimes you have to take the risk. And I think that I would hope they learned from 2020 and are okay and feel a little bit more comfortable with potentially pushing the envelope and demanding certain things without knowing what the future may look like. So that's my piece on that.
And I totally agree with that, and that leads me into the next topic, and going to Brittany. And of obviously we have Brittany, we have Lauren, we have Shantae, right? Brittany and Lauren, you all are mothers, and we know how important maternity is. And for those fathers out there who are um, very in tuned and inclined with their spouse, I need you guys to listen extremely carefully to what we are about to discuss. This is something that's very, very important. And this is something that needs to be talked about more from a maternity standpoint, and what these women go through during their pregnancy and after their pregnancy and postpartum. So please, please, please listen to this carefully. In 2008, there was a collective bargaining agreement that had, in retrospect, I would say it wasn't, it was terminated in a sense where there were certain negotiations that didn't happen. So the WNBA decided to play a season without a collective bargaining agreement in 2009. And in that retrospect, Candace Parker didn't know she was pregnant, and she had Layla. And in that regard, she didn't have any protections from a maternity standpoint. So everything she had to do had to come out of her pocket. Listen to that carefully. Everything, when she had Layla, had to come out of her pocket, because the CBA for some reason wasn't it wasn't intact for that year, and they suspended the CBA for a year, and the WNBA decided they were going to play a season anyway. So, with that being said, what measures should we go through to make sure, again, that the athletes who decides to have children while they are active be protected in making sure that they have everything they need to have a successful, safe, and healthy period of pregnancy. And let's start with Brittany.
As a mother of two, this is paramount to have protections in place for mothers, right? Maternity leave and all these different things. I didn't even know that fact that you just said, K. Dot, about them suspending the CBA in 2009 and Candace Parker basically having no support to handle any of the expenses that are associated with having a child. That's disgusting to me. Utterly disgusting. And this kind of goes into the case that De'Erica Hamby is currently involved in right now, right? Just to kind of speed up the people, De'Erica Hamby was a part of the Las Vegas Aces. She was a part of that championship team. And the next year, she got pregnant with her second child, and she, expressed and communicated to the Las Vegas Aces that she was going to come ready after the birth of her child to compete that season. And they really did. They kind of said, they didn't believe her, and then she got traded. So essentially, they basically traded her for getting pregnant, which makes no sense to me. You're supposed to protect the players, essentially, right? Like, this is, again, the WNBA dropping the ball. It has to be better, okay? It has to be better moving into this next CBA.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Lo, I know you want to. I
Yeah.
know I'm gonna throw the ball to you, and I'm gonna get out the way. So what we're gonna do is, so Brittany gave us a score right there, right on her ISO. I'm gonna clear the floor. I'm gonna go on the right side. I'm gonna go on the right side of the floor. I'm gonna let you cook at the top of the key, right? Because Skylar Dickens Smith is also a part of this, and shout out to Skylar Dickens Smith. First off, we love you so much, and we're so happy that you're back and you're smiling and you're happy in Seattle so far. So yeah, I'm gonna let you get that ISO.
I agree with everything Brittany has said, and I also didn't know that about Candace Parker. I did hear or read that she was one of the reasons why the rules changed in regards to adding pregnancy to the CBA. But speaking from experience, just being pregnant is a very interesting journey. So to think that, so typically a regular 9 to 5 job gives you 3 months of maternity leave, right? And that's still not even enough. Like, you can ask any new mom, 3 months is really not shit. Like, you're literally, especially if you're a first time mom, you're trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be doing with this baby? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're trying to figure it out. Like everyone always says, there's no handbook to it. And then, so that's just from a physical standpoint, your body, whether you got a C-section or had the baby vaginally, your body has to recover. And what a lot of people don't know is that your hormones don't regulate until 2 years after you had the baby. So number one, physically, you're not 100%. Hormonally, you're not 100%. And then we're also adding a mental component to it too. Because if you're Black, like most of the women in the WNBA are, there are 3 times more likely chance of dying from pregnancy related complications than like white people or any other race. So, and these are all preventable deaths. Most of them are preventable deaths. So when you look at stuff like that and see that the Players Association didn't include it because they didn't have a CBA, is just very mind boggling, because the age in which these women come into the league, they start at what, 22 years old to 37, 38, 41 if you're Diana Taurasi, childbearing years. So how do you not have something specifically for pregnancy in there when most of their time in the professional league is their childbearing years? Like, to me, it just is very frustrating. The fact that I think I read something that said, I think it was the CBA before this, it said that it was like 50% of their salary or something like that. And it's like, what the hell are they supposed to do with that? And going back to Candace Parker, the fact that she had to pay out of pocket for everything, you're talking about weekly doctor's appointments, especially when you get to the end of the trimester, the end of your third trimester. You're talking about the medication that you're using, if she used medication, if she got a C-section. Just in Maryland alone, without insurance, the base is $10,000 to have a baby. That's just the basic package. You know what I'm saying? So imagine in LA what it is, you know? I think that I do like the changes that they made, but it can be a lot better. I like that they have options for, adoption and surrogacy, and, if you're having infertility issues or need treatment and stuff like that. I don't like it. You have to be an 8-year vet in order to do that, because if you're coming in at 22, 8 years, you're 30. Some people don't want to have a baby that late. I mean, I had a baby at 30, but some people want to have a baby a little bit earlier. So I don't like that it's 8 years or more in order to qualify for some of these things. So I do feel like it can be better. I think that in the next one, they have to add a little bit more things to it. Whether that's decreasing the amount of years before you're eligible to have some of these opportunities to adoption or surrogacy, whatever the case may be. But I feel like whatever a mother wants, just give it to them. Like, they're going through enough as is, like literally creating an entire life inside of you. Why having to go about your business as usual? Like, you just have to literally act like the baby isn't sucking all your nutrients out of you, all your energy, all your brain cells, like as they're curated in your body. And I think that I've always had the utmost respect for women, but specifically professional athletes that push their body to the limit to come back and play 6 weeks after they give birth, or just being away from their child because they're so passionate to play this sport. So let's reward these women for still, working hard and still playing the sport. I think Skylar Diggins says she was over 200 pounds and she had to bust her ass to get back in playing shape. Like, she's around my age, 30, 33, 34. That's not easy. Losing the weight when you're in your 30s is a lot harder than when you're in your 20s. So I just think whatever these women want, they need to take a poll of all the mothers in the WNBA. Whatever they want, put it in this new CBA.
Absolutely. And also, for additional context, Cheryl Swoops came back and competed in a WNBA final 6 weeks after having her son Jordan. So, and that's obviously one of the GOATs. So shout out to the GOAT.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Aside, so Cheryl Swoops, and then anybody in between, do we know of had a baby? I can't remember outside of Cheryl Swoops, and then like between the era of Cheryl Swoops and Candace Parker while they were playing.
That's a good question.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember either. There are a number I know of, but it's not coming. It really is something's telling me Taj McWilliams Franklin was one as well.
Possibly, yeah.
And shout out to Taj as well.
Yes.
But
and the only reason I asked that is because that's a big gap.
Yes.
So they probably didn't think, they're probably like, oh well, guess people ain't getting pregnant. We don't need it. But it's like, no, you gotta stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And I think that's the motto that they need to adopt.
Cheyenne Parker. Shout out to Shell.
Yeah, that was after
Cheyenne Parker. Yep.
So like after Candace Parker, I know it's plenty. Skylar, Cheyenne, Bria Hartley had a child.
Yep.
So it's multiple after. I was just wondering in that time frame between Cheryl Swoops
Cheryl and Candace.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, I want to say Taj McWilliams Franklin. And I know that DeWanna Bonner. I would say DeWanna Bonner would be with Candace Parker in that case as well. And DeWanna Bonner had twins. Yes, she did indeed have twins, and they're so cute, by the way. So let's kind of let's go ahead and conclude, because we've been, we've been talking about this for over an hour now, and I want to thank everyone who has been listening, who has viewed us. And I want to give a round of applause to my esteemed panelists, Brittany, Lauren, and Shantae, for providing such wonderful insight and additional information. And you guys have been so amazing tonight, and I do want to give you all credit for putting in that work and helping me as well. Yeah, I could be called the CBA god all you want, but you all are the CBA goddess for doing the work just as much as I have, and I can't be more thankful for you guys for joining me in talking about this. Now that this is on record, a lot of the casuals that we're looking at right now, yes, you guys are casuals. I'm gonna keep calling you casuals. So what? Now you guys have education. Now you guys know why the WNBA is where it is right now and where it could go in the future. So the result of that is be more active in social media, be more active and go to the games, be more active in trying to do everything you can in watching the game, bully more. This type of bullying is what we need. This type, again, is what we need, because as you can see, we had a game on tonight, which the Liberty got their butt bust by Chicago Sky. And shout out to Teresa Weatherspoon getting the women right. And shout out to Angel Reese, who had an incredible game tonight. And she was on one tonight. So shout out to you after, first off, having a birthday. Happy birthday, Angel Reese, and doing your thing at the Met Gala last night. But that's neither here or there. We need to make sure that from a fan standpoint, we need to continue to put our foot on the league's neck. We need to continue to put the foot on the owner's necks, so that we can have more progressive, more things for the athletes to reap the benefits of their hard work for. And in conclusion, I want to add, continue to support, continue to invest, continue to bet, because again, this is a renaissance and we're seeing a huge shift, and we are already on the ferry. It depends on whether you want to, jump in the ocean with us or just stay behind and look at the rest of those sports. So, Brittany, Lauren, Shantae, is there anything additional you guys want to add before we head out?
No, I think we covered it all. Like I said in the beginning, the actual literature is what, over 300 pages. So it's a lot to digest, a lot that we, didn't cover, but I think we covered the most important things. Especially because people sometimes don't understand why these women aren't making as much as they should make. And I think, this episode should kind of help clear that up and just kind of explain things a little bit more simplistically. So yeah, I'm happy to be on with you guys as always. We can get the team together.
All I'll say is just to continue to support. Like you said, KDOT is super important. And yeah, use social media effectively and stay stay on the W's neck, stay on Kathy's neck, read these articles, stay educated so we understand what moves are being made. And that's all I have to say. Just continue to support.
Support the dub, but also support us too, y'all. Make sure y'all supporting the people that are actually reporting on what y'all like. We're all individuals who have our own lives and we do our own thing. We all have our own jobs and we do this because we love the game. We love basketball. We love growing the game. So make sure y'all support. Okay, support the women. Support us. Follow us too. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're gonna mic drop on that one. So thank you all for joining the 9450 and Jump Ball and Study Hall special, which we present Game Changers analyzing the WNBA Collective Bargaining Agreement. Don't forget, make sure you follow the network that's at the 9450 on Twitter, at the 9450 _ on Instagram and TikTok, and follow on YouTube. Make sure we get our subscribers up, man. Get our subscribers up. Follow us at the 9450. You can always follow me, Kevin K. Lewis, at K.Lew3H on Twitter. I'm on other sites, but I don't want y'all to know that. Also follow 21 Titles at 21 Titles. There goes Brittany at Wellness Brit on Twitter, and Shantae, that's at Tay Gets It Done 24 on Twitter, and my homie Lauren, aka Lolo, that's Lolo Bike on Twitter. And again, we want to thank everybody for joining. Deshell just let us know that the Sky is beating the Liberty by 50. Lord have mercy.
Nasty work.
That
That's
is
disgusting.
nasty.
I'm embarrassed.
Listen, hey, the Liberty acting like they back on October 18th, 2023. They still hurt. They still butt hurt. Oh my
that's
goodness.
bad.
That
A
is
50
horrible.
piece?
Mm-mm-mm.
Hold on, wait. They show say what, you OnlyFans or something? Hold on, wait, what?
Show. What?
Lord have mercy, Father.
Again, Lord have mercy, Father. All right. We have completed our goal, which is to educate everyone who is new to this space. I do appreciate everyone for listening and joining. I do appreciate my esteemed panelists for talking with me. And again, we have a lot of people who follow entities and media brands. They shall. Yeah, I'm not on OnlyFans. They shall. That's wild. Context is important. I am so sorry. No, I am not on OnlyFans. Now, if you can give me some money, that's neither here or there. But again, just make sure you follow everybody, follow us. We try and strive to be, some of the most objective people on the planet. We keep our heads down, we do the work. We always want to make sure that everybody is informed, and the only way that you're able to get things like this is if you guys help us. So if shut up, DA. In order for us to help you all have to help us by continuing to like, subscribe, follow. And you got a lot of the loyal supporters have been doing that. So we do appreciate you guys. Your loyalty and your fandom doesn't go unnoticed. We love shouting everybody out. So we really, really appreciate it. But with that being said, oh Lord, 101 to 53. God. All right, stay focused. Stay focused. With that being said, love is love. Peace out. Have a great evening. And make sure you guys check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Peace out, y'all.